What if the way that you breathe is keeping you stuck in pain? Most of us chest breathe without realising it, and this starves the body of oxygen and space that it needs. In this video, I'm going to share with you one simple change that you can make, which supports fascia decompression, helps reduce pain, and leaves the body feeling calm and energised. So hello, my name is Catherine, and I support people to free themselves from pain so that they can move pain-free every day. So let's get started. So in my last video, I shared with you fascia decompression, and we're going to go further in this video in what the next step is. So step one is to create space in the body, and we do this with the Block Therapy block or a rolled up towel, and we decompress the fascia. In this video, we're going to look at step two, which is inflating the space with the breath. When I learned to breathe this way, it changed everything for me because I was then getting more oxygen in the body. When we chest breathe, we get 6 times less oxygen in the body, and this has a massive effect on our organs, but also our energy and our sense of calm. So when we are panicked or stressed or in pain, we start to breathe from the chest. So just notice when you're stressed what you do. You might tense up, you might just have that shortness of breath from the chest, you might sort of go inwards and roll your shoulders down, making yourself small, kind of protecting ourselves. So we do these things to keep us safe. And if we're just doing them in those small moments and the rest of the time we're breathing diaphragmatically from the belly, then that then helps our body get back into that parasympathetic, which is that rest and heal. If, however, we're always chest breathing, our body then stays in this fight or flight, this scare, this tension, this stress state. And then it's not living in that parasympathetic state, which we should all be trying to get to. And block therapy helps you to connect back to the breath. So how do you breathe diaphragmatically? Diaphragmatic breathing is done through breathing from the belly. So when we breathe in through the nose, we expand the belly out. We want the breath to come from the belly, from the diaphragm. And then once it's come from the diaphragm, you can then expand it up into the chest and the rest of the ribs, expanding the ribs out. But we want the breath to start from the belly. So you can do this to practice by placing your hand on your stomach and take a deep breath in. If you breathe in for a count of 4, just to feel where that breath is coming from. Now, maybe the breath was coming from the belly, maybe it was coming from the chest, or maybe it was a bit of both. So we want to try all the time to breathe from the belly. And a great way to do this is to set maybe a timer or just a reminder for yourself to say, right, I'm going to make sure now I'm going to be diaphragmatic breathing. And this then becomes a habit and our body learns again how to breathe from the belly. So when we breathe in, for that count of 4, our belly expands outwards, and then we want to exhale for longer, so a count of 6. We want to completely exhale, imagine that belly button's touching the back of the spine, and at the very last moment we can hold, and then before we take our next breath, so shrink our belly small. When we're doing the block therapy classes, I guide you through the breathing so that you're always breathing diaphragmatically. We don't want to be holding the breath and we don't want to be breathing from the chest. So in the classes, I remind you throughout each position to breathe so that you can remember to do so. Because it's surprising when we're in pain or we're just not consciously thinking, we forget to breathe or we breathe from our habit, which might be the chest. So when we diaphragmatically breathe, we get 6 times more oxygen in the body. So what this oxygen can then go to all the organs, it can get all the way down to the feet and the hands where we need it all. And we're strengthening that diaphragm to support us, which also supports the rib cage. Because when we collapse into the core and we're also breathing from the chest, the ribs are not being supported and the diaphragm is not being used. So we need to be strengthening that diaphragm so that we can support the rib cage, which supports our shoulders and supports the rest of the body. So what if we don't breathe diaphragmatically? So if we don't breathe diaphragmatically and we are using the block therapy block or rolled up towel to decompress the fascia, we will still create change in the body, but it won't be as powerful. So the breath is the body's furnace. It creates heat in the body. It supplies the oxygen, gets the oxygen blood moving throughout the body. So if we are just breathing from the chest and not breathing from the diaphragm, we will get some relief from the rolled up towel or the block therapy block, because we still will be decompressing that fascia. But if we can use the diaphragm, breathing from the stomach, to inflate the space, so we've created that space, now we're going to inflate it with the breath, creating more room for the organs, more room for the blood and oxygen to flow. This will help to heal the body quicker. And it also helps the body to feel calm. When we're breathing diaphragmatically, even for a few breaths, you start to connect your body to that parasympathetic state. This is where the body can rest, heal, and digest. And we want to be in this state as often as we can. This links into the emotional side of block therapy, where you can release emotions that are trapped into the body. I also do this in my silent counselling sessions, where we connect to the breath and we release things from the body in order to be able to come back to that parasympathetic state. Block therapy not only helps reduce pain, but it also gets rid of those emotional pains that might be trapped in the body. Consistency is key, so it's just reminding yourself to breathe diaphragmatically as often as you can, especially when you're doing the fascia decompression work. But whenever you might be sitting or you have a moment feeling a little stressed, feeling in pain, to remind yourself to connect to that diaphragmatic breath. Even a few breaths can help to rest and calm the body. And the more you do this, the more your body will learn to breathe from the diaphragm. And remember to be kind to yourself, because it is a practice and it will take time to stop chest breathing if you have been chest breathing for a while. I know with myself at first, it was reminding myself to constantly breathe from the stomach, to remind myself to breathe from the belly rather than the chest breathing that had become the norm for me. But over time, with the consistent pattern, this is now the natural way that I breathe. I don't breathe from the chest unless there's a stressful situation and you're panicking and we need to solve that problem. But then you come back to the parasympathetic breathing from that stomach. My last video, we looked at the fascia decompression, creating the space. This video, we've looked about inflating that space with the breath. And in my next video, we'll talk about maintaining that space with the posture. In the meantime, I have a link in my description where there's a free guide that you can download. And in this guide, it gives you those 3 simple steps that you can do in just 5 minutes a day to help reduce the pain and stiffness in your body. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a block therapy class soon.